Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's Railsplitter Athletics Report. I'm your host, Rusty Peace, and we are quickly closing in on the turn for the holiday break coming up. LMU men's and women's basketball teams engulfed in South Atlantic Conference play and in first half of the 2013-14 schedule. Of course, this week has been the annual RoHo shopping spree, and the LMU Athletics Department was heavily involved with that. And we're going to talk about that a little bit tonight. We're going to show you a little bit more of that next week, but we will talk about that a little bit tonight. We're also going to be talking with Josh Schertz, head coach of the Railsplitters, as he and his team have jumped from number 23 in the latest NABC poll to number 20. And this weekend, they will travel to Newberry, South Carolina, where they'll take on Newberry University, the Wolves, in yet another South Atlantic Conference game before the upcoming holiday break. We got a lot to talk about tonight. We'll also talk Lincoln Memorial University women's basketball as Roger Hodge and his team prepared to host the University of Indianapolis, and they'll hit the road against Lewis. It's all coming up next here on the Railsplitter Athletics Report. Stay with us.
If you love your car or truck, let us help you keep it clean at Soapy J's. Soapy J's has unlimited wash plans to fit every budget. Try our $5 express wash or one of our 3 monthly wash plans. The Wheel Deal, the Soapy J, or the new Blast Wax. With our monthly wash plans, if you pay with credit card, all you do is pay for the present month and your card will be billed on the first of each month. Don't forget, Soapy J's has free vacuums with any wash. Soapy J's Express Car Wash, open 7 days a week. Let us help keep your car or truck clean at Soapy J's. Soapy J's on the Cumberland Gap Parkway, Middlesboro.
The J. Frank White Academy is more than a high school. Your child will have room to grow in mind, body, and spirit. Small, safe learning environments, individualized learning plans, and cutting-edge technology. Every child deserves a quality education in a safe, nurturing environment.
Our college prep program teaches a love of learning, self-discipline, and service to others. The Academy is fully accredited by Advanced Ed. You have a choice at the J. Frank White Academy.
Since 1973, DeRoyal has been a leader and an innovator in manufacturing products for the healthcare industry. DeRoyal supplies more than 20,000 products and product lines such as acute care, orthopedics, wound care, and trauma. DeRoyal is proud to be the largest supplier of orthopedic soft goods to clinics and hospitals in the nation. Since its start in Tazewell, Tennessee, DeRoyal has grown to open factories in over 29 locations worldwide and employs over 2,000 people. DeRoyal, a name you can trust and an employer you can count on.
Looking for efficient, compassionate, and comprehensive health care for you and your family? Visit University Medical Clinic. All providers are faculty members of LMU's DeBus College of Osteopathic Medicine and are board certified in their specialty. Multiple specialties available including family medicine, pediatrics, OBGYN, and osteopathic manipulative medicine, with locations in Harrogate, Tazewell, and New Tazewell, and most insurance plans accepted. University Medical Clinic is here to serve you. Call 423-869-7193 for an appointment. University Medical Clinic.
Welcome back to the Railsplitter Athletics Report. Let's start with women's basketball. This past Saturday, the Lincoln Memorial University women's basketball team traveled down to Hartsville, South Carolina for a South Atlantic Conference matchup when they took on the Cobras of Coker University. Roger Hodge and his team led by as many as 9 points in the first half, but the Cobras came back in the second half, putting together a run that amassed a 9-point lead before the game's end. Eventually, the Cobras came away with a 69-60 victory to drop the Lady Railsplitters to 4-3 overall and to 3-2 in South Atlantic Conference play. The LMU women now prepare to take on the University of Indianapolis. That'll be this Monday night at 7 o'clock in the Tex Turner Arena. That'll be a solo game as the Railsplitters will play on Sunday against Newberry. So the Lady Railsplitters playing one of 2 games before the upcoming holiday break, both against teams that were receiving votes for the top 25 a little better than a week ago. They will travel following that game with Indianapolis on Monday night to take on Lewis University in Romeo, Illinois on the Thursday, and that'll be a battle in and of itself. Lewis was inside the top 15 a little better than a week and a half ago, so tough schedule for Roger Hodge and his team. Now, talking about men's basketball, we've got Josh Schertz, head coach of the Railsplitters, joining us. And this past Saturday, the Railsplitters also traveled to Hartsville, South Carolina, where they took on the Cobras of Coker. And Coach, probably one of the more impressive first halves that I've seen in a long time. A good game all the way around. And I'll tell you what, your team really responded well on the road against Coker.
Yeah, we played probably our best 20 minutes of the season. If you look at the first half against Coker, which is obviously a quality team, and to go up 21 points at half, we created some separation. Obviously, next step for us is to learn when we do get a lead to play and to sustain our aggressiveness and to kind of have that killer instinct to put teams away. We've shown an ability or an inability to do that to this point of the season, but it's something we're working on and trying to get better at. So I'm happy with the performance and looking forward to what should be another tough road game this weekend.
I know that when you and I, we have more than ample opportunity to talk week in, week out now with the audio pre-games we do, with the coaches show, with this show, and we have post-games thrown in there as well. So, in talking about Coker in terms of the pre-game show, you were talking about if we had an advantage on them, it would have been size. But I'll tell you what, I thought they were pretty thick on the inside with their starting post players. Now, they didn't really have a whole lot of depth off the bench in terms of size, but, it wasn't necessarily our size inside that allowed us to take a 24-point lead, I think, by the 18-minute mark of the second half. We just took it to them offensively. We executed, and we got the job done.
Yeah, I think, when we were talking about the size advantage, it was more from a length. I think their guys are shorter and stockier, built probably like a smaller Vinny, where we have more longer guys inside, certainly with KP, with Kurt, Paul, those guys. But, in terms of offensively, I thought first half particularly, and early in the second half, ball movement was great. Guys were being aggressive. Lorenzo, when he plays like that, it changed the dynamics of our team because when he's in attack mode, aggressive, putting pressure on the defense, it frees up a lot of things for other people. I thought Tim was a little bit more aggressive. Pierce, CJ did some really good things. He had some turnovers, but I thought he was in attack mode. Chance Jones played well. I mean, really across the board, the guys that came in did a nice job. And then obviously, I thought, Vinny wasn't Vinny's best night, but certainly Kurt McMillian and then Keenan Peterson getting 11 rebounds and 2 shot blocks in 10 minutes was tremendous for us in his first game back from the knee issue. So good all-around team performance. Certainly got to continue. It's hard. Worst thing that happened to an individual player or a team when you're playing well is halftime. If a guy's hot in the first half, you go in for 15 minutes and cool down. It's hard sometimes to get back into gear, and that's the same thing with basketball teams. But we've got to do. It's almost better sometimes if it's not in my case, but in most cases it's a closer game at halftime, and then the second half you can kind of sustain it. But we got to do a better job playing with a lead for sure.
I guess when you're talking about execution, it all starts with how your point guard runs the offense, and in terms of Lorenzo Ross, I mean, here's a guy whose assist to turnover ratio is usually off the charts anyway. I think on this particular night he had 5 assists, maybe a couple of turnovers, but when you look at his offensive production that night as well, I think he was 7 of 9 from the field. So he was responsible for a lot of the offense, whether it was directly or indirectly. And then you got these other guys that come in like Tim Pierce. He shot, I think, 50% from the field, did really well. Vinny has, an average night, I think, for Vinny. It wasn't the greatest night, but KP comes off the bench, and he was a question mark for the game because of the nagging injury that he sustained. He didn't really have the offensive opportunities, but he makes up the difference, gets us a lot of boards. And then, of course, Curtis McMillian. I mean, the guy just continues to impress. Another double-double.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think anytime, when you're looking at a team, football, the quarterback, basketball, the point guard, that's usually where you kind of start with looking at a team's success or non-success. And it's certainly not all on Lorenzo, but he's certainly a big part because when he plays well, I think he's among the better point guards in Division II basketball. From there, we've talked about him, and we got a lot of good pieces. And when we play together and we play connected, we're a really good basketball team. We have a chance to be. And I thought, Curtis McMillian's a guy, we've talked about. I mean, what an unbelievable deal for him. He's continued to play well, and now it's a situation where he's had back-to-back double-doubles. I think he's 3rd in the league in rebounding, leading the league in shot blocks. So pretty impressive start for a kid that didn't play much at all last year and redshirted as a freshman. So he's been huge for us and needs to continue to be for us to have a chance to have success.
A lot of guys came in and contributed in that, and you really don't want to leave anybody out. I think, Luquan Choice comes in, doesn't really look to shoot a whole lot, but I think he was 2 for 2 from the field. Mm-hmm. So he came in, provided some offense. Chance Jones, he's just somewhat of a role player this year where he emerged as a scorer a year ago, and I think you'll see that by year's end. But, Coach, when you look at that as a result of the victory on Saturday, your team and the other goings-on throughout the country, your team moves from number 23 to 20 in the latest poll. And I'm really a little bit surprised, not of our move, but of the fact that with the fact Carson Newman has won, Anderson has won, even a tight game as they did in overtime on Saturday, that they've not broken into the top 25. But I was really surprised they didn't. Carson Newman got votes this week, but Anderson did not.
Yeah, you know, I think it's a situation where in the South Atlantic Conference it just shows how difficult it is to sustain rankings, you know, and when you have teams like Carson Newman, Anderson, for whatever reason, and I don't know why, I think this year our league is probably as good as any in the country, but for whatever reason, from a conference standpoint, it doesn't get the respect nationally it deserves. I think that'll change as time goes, but certainly disappointed that we you know, you see Carson Newman at 6-1 and they lose a game at Coker, they fall out. Anderson's had a great year. They're, you know, out of the receiving votes. Carson Newman's in receiving votes, but towards the bottom. You know, we lose a game to Anderson at home, who's receiving votes, and they're what, you know, we fall from 13 in the country to 23. So disappointing, but we'll go from there and you know, focus on what's important, which is trying to get a win against Newberry.
We're going to take a brief timeout. We'll take this timeout just a shade early, and we'll be back to talk more with Josh Schertz about the upcoming week and the second half of the schedule when we return on the LMU Sports Network.
Top off at mycokerewards.com.
No matter whether it's breakfast, lunch, or dinner, Subway of Harrogate and Middlesboro has your fresh interests at heart. On your way to work, try one of our mouth-watering breakfast sandwich or flatbread omelets. If it's lunch or dinner time, choose from our wide selection of classic, select, or premium sandwiches, all made to your order. If you're serving a crowd, Subway has sandwich platters, giant subs, box lunches, and even cookie platters. Whether it's dine in or carry out, you can eat healthy and eat fresh at Subway. Subway, 362 Catawba Avenue in Harrogate and on the corner of the Village Square Mall, Middlesboro.
It's the Old Town Grill.
The Old Town Grill is a special place where you bring more than family, more than friends. Bring a hearty appetite, because at the Old Town Grill, you'll never walk away hungry. A delicious change from the ordinary. The perfect place to bring the entire family. The best food and plenty of it. Join the fun and treat your appetite to something special.
It's the OTG.
The OTG is the place to be.
I will help families adopt children from around the world and in our own backyard.
I am teaching ethics to the next generation of lawyers.
I will make a difference for the underserved of this region.
I will be an advocate for my clients.
As a prosecutor, I fought for those who couldn't speak for themselves.
I'm a lawyer and professor.
I will be a lawyer.
I will be a lawyer.
I will be a lawyer.
Welcome back to the Railsplitter Athletics Report. We're closing in on the Christmas holidays, and with that means limited opportunities for Josh Schertz and his team to play before the upcoming holiday break. This Sunday, the Railsplitters are going to travel down to South Carolina one more time. They'll take on the Wolves of Newberry University this time. Another South Atlantic Conference game before the upcoming holiday break. Coach, I know you're 6-1 on the year now, and 2 years ago when we're in the league, did you ever think that you'd play this many conference games before the Christmas holiday?
It's unbelievable, you know, the way the schedule's done, and I think, you know, hoping something that the conference will look at and maybe fix moving forward. I think it's way too many. It takes away, you know, a lot of opportunities to have out-of-league rivalries. It takes away the rhythm of the season in terms of you should play November, December to prepare yourself for conference play. Conference play should encompass January and February, where you're trying to earn a bid to the most important season, the postseason in March, and that's really the way seasons kind of go. If it was a great idea to play all your games in conference, I think the majority of Division I schools would do that. There's a reason that they play an out-of-league schedule, and you know, so it's a little bit frustrating. I like to add some. You know, we have the Augusta State rivalry. King's been a great one. Wise will be a long-term deal. Can we get Bellarmine? Can we get, you know, I mean, some of those type of people on our schedule? Not necessarily easier games, but games that you can play, and maybe there's a little less consequence in terms of where you are. You know, it's hard to be at your best in early November, and you know, we're playing our 5th conference game in the last 3 weeks, and you know, it is skewed at times because depending on who you play where in the conference. For us, we've played a lot of the top end teams in the conference in the first semester. When you look at having to play, you know, Newberry, who's really, really good. Obviously, we played Anderson, we played Queens, going to Coker. So it's been brutal for us early. Certainly looking forward to finishing out this semester, though, here with 2 games. We'll play the schedule as they give it to us. So I guess they say it is what it is. So we'll play them and go from there.
Now, that UVA-Wise series is coming up here in the next week or so, and it's interesting you brought that up because there had been some talk, and I think Dan Burns had spoken with possibly the president of UVA-Wise about possibly instituting some kind of rivalry trade, like a trophy each year for the winner and so forth. Tennessee and Kentucky trade the liquor barrel. There's some of them that used to trade a whiskey jug, you know, and I think that's a great thing to help establish a rivalry. I think it works more when you're in conference, but when you're in close proximity, I think that could work well too. And in this case, I know that UVA-Wise has really stepped up not only their facilities but their actual level of play over the years.
Well, they really have. They you know, beat us last year, you know, and they're 5-2 right now. Currently, I think they're 3-1 in their conference, the Mountain East Conference, and so they play King and us to finish the semester out. They'll host King on the 17th and us on the 21st. So, you know, certainly I think the rivalry. We've tried to schedule games that have some meaning and that have, you know, proximity, you know, close proximity. The King games obviously have gone on for years. The Wise is a long-term series we've signed. And obviously, if we can scale back the conference games, we'll try to get Bellarmine. I think it'll be a great game within a 3-hour ride. And we'll be able to add some more games to it. Lee's gone Division II now. So there'll be some times we can really add some teams within a close proximity. Pikeville may or may not go. Georgetown is trying to go. So there's a number of teams within a 2 to 3 hour ride from here that we can certainly add and continue to build rivalries that a lot of the people currently would enjoy, but also people that have been around a long time will remember from the TVAC days and the NAIA days.
I know that over the years, not necessarily in the South Atlantic Conference, but just in collegiate athletics, I've had the opportunity to talk with a lot of folks from different schools, and that's the same with the league. So now that Coker's in, I actually developed a relationship very quickly with, I think, Kevin Stryker as one of their SIDs down there and a couple of their people on staff there at the press table. And they're in their first year of eligibility for South Atlantic Conference play, and already they're looking, saying, hey, we really need to go to divisions. I know that you feel strongly about that. A lot of the coaches differ on that opinion, but when you're talking about the economy, and this is something we've discussed numerous times, it makes sense from an economic standpoint to go to divisions, and that allows you guys to play these non-conference games with teams in close proximity.
Right, and that would be great. You know, do you want to see 22 conference games? And we're saying if you have 16 league games, which is what we'd have, there would be really no overnight trips within your deal. You would play the other 6 teams, you'd play 3 of them at home, 3 on the roads, maybe 3 overnight trips. And then you could fill your schedule with, hey, you know, we're going to go to Augusta State, that may be an overnight, or they come here. People love to see a Bellarmine game. You know, could you play Lee? You know, I mean, you have a lot of these games that would, I think, be tremendously beneficial, and people may enjoy seeing that more than an LMU Lee game, even though it's not conference, or an LMU Virginia Wise game versus LMU Coker, who they don't know, or LMU Queens, even though Queens is really good, they don't know, they don't have an affiliation with. So, you know, from my standpoint, from an economic standpoint, and from a standpoint of how a season should move, you shouldn't be playing games, do or die games for conference championships November 20th. I mean, that just, from a logical standpoint, makes no sense to me. But I understand why the conference did it, because we voted as a league to go play round robin. That's the only way. When you play 26 games and 22 of them in conference, it's the only way to fit it in.
Yeah, and that brings me back to a comment that you made a long time ago. And believe it or not, folks, over the years, I've actually gained some very nice knowledge from a lot of the coaches here at Lincoln Memorial. Different coaches have different sayings.
Not me.
Yeah, no, actually, one of his sayings that I've used the most has been that you can't win the conference in the early season, but you can sure play your way out of it, or the tournament, being the NCAA tournament. And that applies to a lot of different sports here at Lincoln Memorial. But when you look at playing non-conference teams such as Bellarmine and Pikeville, teams that have competed for the NAI National Championship or the NCAA Division II National Championship, teams like Lee University, who's just making the transition. It's hard to believe in this day and age of athletics, and as long as Lincoln Memorial University has been here, that there are people in Cleveland, Tennessee, in Pikeville, Kentucky, in Louisville, Kentucky, that have never heard of Lincoln Memorial. So in terms of recruiting, in his case, for basketball, it's a great exposure to those areas because it gets your name into those areas through the media and through the play. In terms of Lincoln Memorial University, it's great exposure to those areas in recruiting students to come here for academic purposes. So I think it's a win-win situation. And when you've got quality teams that are nationally ranked, like Bellarmine, a top 5 team, like Pikeville, a team that is competing for the NAI National Championship every year, Lee University, who has clearly shown that they're very capable, that's good competition locally within 2.5 to 3 hours that you can play and not kill the budget right away.
Right, I think that's what it's about, is putting yourself in a situation at some of these non-conference rivalries, Kentucky going to North Carolina. I mean, we had the Bellarmine game done, and then when we voted to go to 22 league games, we had to obviously squash that and move Augusta and move some things around because you can't play, 8 or 10 non-league games and play 22 league games. So, things get canceled, move back. I'd like to see us go to that. I think it'd be better for our league. I think it'd be better in terms of getting the NCAA tournament. I think, people say, well, that's great, because, you're going to be battle tested. And from my perspective, I don't buy that at all. I think the way it's set up, you're going to be worn out by February, not battle tested. You have to manage your schedule. And if you got to play great to win every game and have a chance in every game, and that's every game of the season, you're going to get to the end of the season and be exhausted mentally, physically as a team. And so it takes all that out. But you can't control your strength of schedule because it's based on your conference. Everybody plays the same strength of schedule. So for us, an advantage has been playing some good out of league opponents, and I think we do this year, but not nearly as many because we don't have as many non-league games to schedule. So across the board, I think it's a sensible move. I do think from a logical standpoint, reasonable minds will differ on things, but I do think from a logical standpoint that move will happen, but it'll probably be 15-16 before it does.
Important to also explain, if you don't understand why they can't play all of these teams, the NCAA restricts the number of games that they can play each year, and if you have 12 conference teams, you're playing 22 conference games, so that only leaves about 4 in Division II's case, between 4 and 28, depending on the situation with tournament play, that you can play in non-conference. So you have 4 non-conference teams, maybe 6 if you get down to it, but yeah, it's a situation that really, in my opinion, needs to be changed somewhat to better benefit each institution in the conference. Coach, you've got a road trip this weekend. Let's go back to that. Newberry University, a team, Dave Davis's squad, always tough team to play regardless of where you play them. And they're a team that really doesn't have the monumental size out there in the lineup, but they get after it so hard. They're so deep. They're so athletic. They dribble, drive. It creates a lot of matchup problems. Yeah, Dave's one of the founders and forefathers of that style of play. You see it with VCU, with Havoc, and and they do a great job in terms of putting pressure on you every possession. They're unbelievably good offensively, put pressure on you off the bounce. Like you said, they go dribble, drive, space the floor. They got guys that can drive it, guys that can shoot it, guys that can do both. Defensively, they're pressuring the entire game. You have to attack their pressure and be able to guard them. They play, like you mentioned, they play as hard as anybody in the country. He does a wonderful job. They're 7-1. I think they'll be 8-1 after tonight, going into our game there, and they've had a great year. They're certainly one of the contenders for the South Atlantic Conference Championship, and we've been fortunate the last 2 years to win there on buzzer beaters in a great atmosphere. Their crowd spills on the court. It's a great environment to play in. Be a lot of energy in that building. We have to play very well to have a chance to have some success. I know you got a couple of tough ones coming up, that one being the first, obviously. You got UVA-Wise coming up. Other than the obvious, which will be a pair of wins before the holiday break, any wishes for the holiday, for the Hanukkah? For the Hanukkah, I just hope, always the same, want our guys to get better, want to improve, be better today than we were yesterday, and our team to be playing as well as it can possibly play as we come towards the end of the season. So long way for us to go, a lot of improvements to make, and I want to wish everybody out there a happy holiday season, and I hope to see you on December 21st with the students being gone, we need the community out when we host Virginia Wise. It's a 4 p.m. tip. Should be a great game. I hope to see everybody out there in Tex Turner supporting the Railsplitters, and then obviously we'll break and be back for January. We'll start all again. All right. Before we say goodbye to Coach Church for this segment, I want to personally thank you for your involvement and cooperation with the annual RoHo Shopping Spree as a member. Really just is such a help, but as a coworker here at LMU and somebody that's trying to help expedite this process and streamline it, I cannot say how invaluable LMU's athletics department involvement is. The men's basketball team is always very anticipated by the kids, and we really appreciate the effort.
Well, we appreciate the opportunity and enjoy it tremendously.
All right, thanks. Good luck Sunday.
Thanks, Russ.
Josh Schertz and the Railsplitters in action Sunday. We'll talk more right after this on the Railsplitter Athletics Report.
I deal with life and death situations.
We touch a lot of lives every day.
People's lives are in your hands.
I will be a nurse.
I will be a nurse.
The Duncan School of Law at LMU, where innovative teaching meets cutting-edge technology.
If you love your car or truck, let us help you keep it clean at Soapy J. Soapy J's has unlimited wash plans to fit every budget. Try our $5 express wash or one of our 3 monthly wash plans. The Wheel Deal, the Soapy J, or the new Blast Wax. With our monthly wash plans, if you pay with credit card, all you do is pay for the present month and your card will be billed on the 1st of each month. Don't forget, Soapy J's has free vacuums with any wash. Soapy J's Express Car Wash, open 7 days a week. Let us help keep your car or truck clean at Soapy J's. Soapy J's on the Cumberland Gap Parkway, Middlesboro.
We represent the Coke brand, and we would love to somehow bring some kind of legal action against Coke Zero.
There might be some taste infringement issues.
There's really no legal concepts of a company bringing a lawsuit against itself.
If this is the king of the jungle, they're acting like the toucan that's on the branch, real colorful and preening, and showing off, and hey, look at us. I want to take a stick and knock that toucan off the branch.
Yeah.
Da, 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 da. One of the area's best-kept secrets when it comes to piping hot fast food is World of Wings Cafe and Wingery, located in the LMU Campus Center. No matter whether it's chicken tenders, chicken wraps, burgers, or hot wings in a variety of flavors, WOW has a menu that's second to none. Try one of our fantastic sides like our fried mushrooms, fried pickles, mozzarella sticks, onion rings, our famous cheese fries, sweet potato fries, or our Texas toast. Shock your taste buds at WOW World of Wings Cafe and Wingery, located in the LMU Campus Center.
Welcome back to the show. We want to give you the update now. We will not be with the Railsplitters on Sunday when they travel to Newberry, South Carolina. However, you can watch that game on streaming video through the LMU Athletics website. The Newberry University Sports Network will take care of us. Josh Mank and company down there making that happen, and that will begin. I believe it's an afternoon tip-off, 2 o'clock if I'm not mistaken, so 1:40 pregame, 1:45, somewhere in that area. And you can watch it streaming video at www.lmurailsplitters.com. Go to the men's basketball schedule page and click on the video link for that particular day. Now, folks, next week we're going to be talking about the annual RoHo Shopping Spree and LMU's involvement with that particular event. It was a great success this year. Over 255 children involved in that event. We had over 100 to 125 LMU athletes, athletic staff, and of course the Frank White Academy involved heavily this year. Thanks to Jerry Boster and his people over there at the Frank White Academy. So just a great event and just a huge success. We'll talk about that, show you some video footage from this year's RoHo Shopping Spree, and that's all coming up on next week's show right here. And we'll also talk with Josh Schertz about the Railsplitters game with Newberry and their upcoming game, which will be a week from this Saturday with UVA-Wise. That's about all the time we have for tonight. To keep up to date on everything going on with LMU Athletics, pull up the website, www.lmurailsplitters.com. Until next Thursday, good night, everybody.